All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are digging into the story of one Roman emperor, a single decisive battle, and a vision in the sky. And believe me, this one moment, it didn't just forge an empire, it literally redirected the entire course of Western civilization.
So how in the world does one battle decide the fate of an entire empire? Well, to get to the bottom of that, we've got to go back to a really high-stakes power struggle for the city of Rome and the man at the very center of it all, Constantine.
Okay, so in the early 4th century, the Roman Empire, well, it was in this state of what you might call managed chaos. It wasn't one single unified territory under one emperor. Nope, it was ruled by 4 of them in a system called the Tetrarchy. Now, this was supposed to bring stability, but, it often did the exact opposite.
And you can see the problem right here on this slide, can't you? The idea versus the reality. The Tetrarchy was supposed to stop civil wars over who gets to be the next emperor, but instead, it basically created a pressure cooker of super ambitious rivals, all of them eyeing the ultimate prize, becoming the one undisputed ruler of the entire Roman world.
So by the year 312, the fight for the entire western half of the empire, it pretty much boiled down to 2 guys. You had Constantine, this brilliant general whose own troops proclaimed him emperor way up in Britain. And then you had Maxentius, who was holding the ultimate prize, the city of Rome itself. You just know a collision was coming.
And that's exactly what happened. In that year, Constantine makes his move, and it was an incredibly bold one. He gathers his legions, we're talking from as far away as Gaul and Britain, marches them south right over the Alps, and gets ready to face Maxentius on his home turf. Talk about high stakes.
I mean, this was a huge gamble. Historical sources tell us Constantine was seriously outnumbered. Think about it. He's marching on the very heart of the empire to face an enemy who had every single reason to feel confident. The entire fate of the West was hanging on the outcome of this one single battle.
Okay, so this is where the story gets really legendary. Because on the eve of this make-or-break battle, something completely extraordinary is said to have happened. An event that wouldn't just change Constantine, it was going to change the world forever.
So the story goes, a desperate Constantine looks to the heavens, searching for some kind of help. And what does he see? A cross of light, right there in the sky, laid over the sun with the Greek words for "in this sign, conquer." Now, whether it was a literal vision in the sky or maybe a super powerful dream, the message couldn't have been clearer.
And he was told to use this specific symbol, the Chi. You can see it's formed from the first 2 letters of Christ's name in Greek. This wasn't some generic good luck charm, not at all. It was a direct, powerful Christian emblem, and he ordered it painted onto the shields of every single one of his soldiers.
All right, so picture this. Constantine's army is now marching under a Christian banner. He advances to meet Maxentius. The stage is set for a battle that's suddenly not just about political power anymore. Now it's about the power of a new god in the Roman world.
And on this day, October 28, 312, the 2 forces finally met. The location? Right outside the city walls at the Milvian Bridge, a really critical crossing point on the Tiber River. Absolutely everything was on the line.
You know, the battle itself was decided by a massive strategic mistake. Instead of just staying safe behind Rome's powerful walls, Maxentius decided to meet Constantine out in the open field. But here's the kicker. He positioned his troops with the river right at their backs. So when Constantine's experienced cavalry charged and just smashed through their lines, panic set in. The retreat became this chaotic mess, with guys and their leader, Maxentius himself, getting pushed into the Tiber where they drowned under the weight of their own armor. A total disaster for them.
So Constantine marches into Rome as the undisputed ruler of the Western Empire. But his victory parade? That was just the beginning. What he did next as emperor signaled a seismic shift, a real earthquake in the religious landscape of the ancient world.
And this, right here, is where everything changes. For centuries, when Roman generals won, they gave thanks to Jupiter or Mars, the traditional gods. Constantine, he gives thanks to the God of the Christians. He publicly credited his victory to that divine sign in the sky, fundamentally linking his imperial power to this faith that, until recently, had been persecuted.
And boy, he did not waste any time. Just 1 year later, in 313, he and his co-emperor in the East issued what would become one of the most important documents in the history of religion, the Edict of Milan.
And this slide just shows you how dramatic that change was. The Edict of Milan ended all persecution, period. Christianity went from being this illegal underground movement to a religion with official protection from the empire itself. Churches got their confiscated property back, and for the very first time, Christians could worship openly without any fear.
But Constantine's vision, it went way beyond just simple tolerance. He didn't just want to protect Christians, he wanted to build an entire empire that reflected this new chapter. And to do that, he felt he had to move the very center of Roman power.
So, why move? Well, for Constantine, Old Rome was a bit of a problem. It was just steeped in centuries of pagan tradition. And, maybe just as important, it was strategically really far from the empire's most threatened frontiers in the east. He needed a fresh start, a capital he could build from the ground up to be the heart of his new Christian empire.
So he picked a spot with immense strategic value, the ancient city of Byzantium, which controlled that critical waterway between Europe and Asia. He rebuilt it on a massive scale, and in 330 AD, he officially dedicated it as Nova Roma, which means New Rome. Of course, pretty soon, everyone else started calling it by a different name, Constantinople, the city of Constantine.
I mean, just look at this timeline for a second. You can see the incredible speed of this transformation. In less than 20 years, Constantine goes from being one of several rival emperors, gambling everything on a single battle, to the sole ruler of the entire Roman world. And he's presiding over a new capital city that would be the center of Christian power for the next 1,000 years. It's just breathtaking.
Which, of course, brings us to a final staggering what-if question. What if Maxentius's army had held its ground that day? What if Constantine had been defeated outside Rome? Would Christianity have ever become the dominant force in the West? It's a huge question, and it really shows you just how much of our modern world was shaped by that single vision and that one victory at the Milvian Bridge.